What's up YouTube? Eric here, and we're back with another payout request video here. The last one I did was taking this $2,000 payout. You can see at the bottom of the screen here a little over a month ago for $2,000. If you haven't watched that video, go check it out. This is going to be the follow-up to that video. So I'm at a point now, and there's a couple things I want to talk about in this video, and I'm going to try and keep it at like the 7 to 10 minute mark. So yeah, just bear with me. I think I'm going to hit a lot of things that are probably holding you back as a trader from ultimately either taking that payout or some of those psychological things to go through trying to get up to the amount in which you can take a payout. So with that being said, I'm currently sitting here now, and I've got give or take like $3,500-ish worth of room to take out, worth of eligible payouts. Now, this was obviously my second funded account with Lucid ever. This is now my third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh. And we've been building these over the last like 7 trading days. And now it's time to go, okay, should we take this out or should we not? Now, one thing I do want to talk about is some of the things that happen inside of the trading that ultimately led to this point. Right now, you can see that on this account number 3, I have like $200 more worth of eligible money, right, that I can take out. Now, the thing with this is I use a trade copier to copy all of these, and on Monday of this week, so just 2 days ago, that trade copier failed to take a trade in all of the other accounts. So you can see this is account number 3, and if we go over here to account number 7, right, that day is $174 compared to $616. So let's go ahead and take these payouts, and then we'll kind of talk through like day one, kind of the struggles, starting off with a red day. Again, another Monday issue, having a trade copier not work. So let's go ahead and request these payouts, and we'll see if we can't go ahead and just do $750. We'll go ahead and request that. That is done. On this one, we'll go ahead. I was like, wait a minute, what? We'll go ahead and request 970. That one is done. We'll go ahead and do another 750 on this one. And we'll do another 750. And last one here, we'll do another $750. Boom. So, okay, all of those have been submitted, so hopefully they'll be somewhere around the neighborhood of like $3,500-ish that should ultimately hit the bank. So let's talk through these. Let's break down the numbers. I think I used 8 or 9 eval accounts in order to get to these 5 funded. There were a couple in there that I certainly failed. I was trading them in groups of 2 or groups of 3 as I passed and tried to go through. We hit all of them in 2 days. That was the goal, was hit the $1,500. It's the 50K accounts. And my thought process on specifically the evals and things like that is just go ahead and get through them. The real part, the real mental piece is trying to get those payouts, right? So when we get over to those payouts, right, and what that means is essentially for this, I just pulled out about $3,500 plus the $2,000 that I had before, right? So I'm at like $5,500 in payouts that actually, hit my bank, right? That has cost me right around $1,000, right? I had 3 failed from before. I think it was 8 accounts, maybe 9 accounts that I took this time to get there. And so in the meantime of that last video, and now I went ahead and passed those evals, obviously. Took a week on vacation, didn't do a single thing, which was really, really nice. And then came back past the rest of what I needed to because there was a couple still left. And then we started trading this on Monday the 6th. Now, we kicked it off with a loser first thing, down $374 there, down $359 there. Again, these numbers should be really, really close. They might be a tick or 2 off just because of the copier. Now, when that happened, I'm like, okay, I got $2,000 worth of drawdown to work with in here. That for me was about 2 hours worth of risk. I'm still in that kind of $200 number worth of risk. I think that's acceptable in the account. It would take me, 10 losing trades essentially to give that back. And I'm like, okay, I can make that work, right? So I lost 2 hours. We'll come back, regroup, no big deal. Technically, was I down like $2,000 across the board? Yeah, because I'm trading ultimately 5 accounts and I'm down roughly $400 in each one of those, right? But I didn't view it, I didn't look at it in that way. I wanted to look at it purely as just the account in and of itself and the risk in which I had. So we overcame that day. And my goal with this too, I feel like I'm kind of bouncing a couple of different places at the moment. But my goal with this video is, I'm sure that someone watching has been in this position before of either trying to get to a payout or eligible to take a payout, and then they ruin it, or they're like a day away from getting that payout, they ruin it. So my hope is that I can get some piece of information across that like helps you get through that next step, right? Or through that next thing, that mental block. So that's the main focus I want to talk about, is just the psychology behind this. Because yes, even though I am a trader for a number of years now, and I trade my own accounts and do the things right, but that doesn't mean that I'm still not susceptible to the same psychology limits or boundaries that can be put on you from a prop account, right? So coming in, first Monday, trading these accounts, not great, right? We need to regroup. We come back, we hit a really nice 3R trade that ends up putting us up like $600, $570 on the day on Tuesday. It was beautiful, couldn't have asked for anything more. It was pretty much what I wanted to happen on Monday, ends up happening on Tuesday. Now, I ended up, because I was then up, right? In my mind, I still have that $2,000 drawdown, and it's based on end of day. So if I have 3 R's worth of profit on a day, then I want to press that just a little bit more. So I did that, and I took this from, like I said, it was like $570, $600 up to $805, $799, whatever it is, right? So I was able to add an additional like 1 R worth of risk onto my account, right? But I didn't use a full R in order to do that, right? I traded with less size just because I wanted to try and pad those books, right? And if I can get just a little bit further on the days where I'm green, then it doesn't affect my end of day drawdown, is essentially the thinking in my mind, right? Now, is that going to work every day? No, but it gives me an additional trade to basically take that doesn't go against my end of day drawdown. It just happens to be the same day I'm already green. Now, that piece can be a little bit of a, yeah, when you're green, you should go ahead and take all your, just walk away, close everything out, and call it a day, right? In this case, I think it makes a little bit of sense to try and add a little additional R value in there, as long as the trade plan works, as long as the trade is good, etc., right? So we end up having that. We end up with a break-even day Wednesday. We come in, and the same exact thing I just said, we smacked a really nice trade, and then I essentially gave that back over the course of like 2.5 more trades, right? One of them was a little bit closer to full size, and then there were a couple that were half-size trades in there, right? So I ended up giving that profit back. I was up like $450, $460, and essentially we gave that back to only being up $25, right? Not ideal. Wasn't what I initially had planned. I thought it was going to go the same as the previous day, but it didn't do that, right? So fast forward, coming along here, $498 on Thursday, pretty nice. We hit a small little winner, $216 on Friday. And then, again, this was the Monday thing, right? The Monday piece. And this is the one I really want to hit on, because there's nothing more frustrating as a trader than like having your analysis right, doing all the things, pushing the button, and then not being able to profit from it as much as you would have liked, right? Like there's a legitimate $400, $450 difference, between 616s and these 174s, right? Like that's on across, 4 different accounts, that essentially cost me like $1,600, $1,800, whatever the numbers are, right? It would have been nice to make that additional money on these accounts. Now, ultimately what ends up happening is, just by happenstance that trade, the larger of these trades, didn't end up working, it gave me another $150 plus day to count towards my 5 days of eligibility on Monday. So in my brain, what ultimately ended up happening from that is like, yes, I just gave up potentially a lot of profits, right? $400 on this account with a $2,000 drawdown is pretty decent, right? That's a fair amount of profits on the account. Now, and I just hit that 10-minute mark. I'm about to wrap this up. But ultimately what that did was, in my mind, and I want to get to the point of what is leading me to take the payout that we obviously just took together, is that I'm now at a point where I only need one more day of $150 in order to get my payout, right? I need my 5 days of $150. There's no minimum profit target I have to hit in terms of the account. Like, I don't need to get it to 4,000. I don't need to get it to 2,600 or whatever the numbers are, right? I just need those 5 days of $150 and I can request 50% of those profits. So for me, I was like, okay, I can probably make that work. And I end up pressing it on Tuesday, which was yesterday, and I let a trade essentially go from like 3 ticks away in the Dow of hitting my $150 that I needed, right? I was trading purely based on just trying to hit that $150 as opposed to actually trading what the chart ultimately would be or should be, right? The way in which I normally should do it. And so I know that that obviously is something that a lot of other people struggle with and everything else, right? Is you're getting so close to that payout. I let that trade go from like 3 ticks away to down over $100 to then come back and just fill me at $156 basically to go ahead and take me out of this position. Like, it was 1 or 2 ticks over essentially what I needed. You know, and again, there's a couple different fill prices in here by a tick or so that ultimately pushes me up over that number, right? So with that being the case, it was like, okay, I'm now up roughly $1,500 across 4 of these accounts. That's $6,000, right? And we can go back over here. We'll see if this is still pending, but I'm now up like $1,500 across 4 of these accounts. That's $6,000. I'm basically up $2,000 in this other account. So I'm up $8,000 over the course of the last 7 trading days. And here I can request a $3,500 payout. And now what that leaves me with is it leaves me about $1,000 in this top account worth of risk. And it leaves me about $750 worth of risk in these accounts in order to then essentially trade from here on out. I have no more ties to the payout, right? My mental space from taking this payout now is, yeah, I have $750 worth of risk to work with in here, $1,000 in the other account, whatever. Yes, I went down $300 or $400 on this account at one point, but I can reduce my risk just a little bit, and it's not enough that it's going to really offset. Like, I can still put out $600 and $700 days when the trade ultimately ends up working and we have the proper sizing based on what my new risk is, right? So I eliminate that psychology piece of, hey, yeah, I'm eligible for a payout, because the thing I thought about was, like, coming into today, I'm technically eligible for a payout, but if I can go make an extra $500 today, right? Now I can pull out an extra $250 across these accounts, right? And pull out an extra $1,250, right? That's where the thinking was essentially trying to lead into. And it's like, okay, I don't necessarily want, like, that's not the right way of going about this. That's not the just trade the chart, those are the only things that matters type of thing, right? So at the end of the day, hopefully this video helps in some way. I'm coming up on the 14-minute time frame, so we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. And these are still pending, but we'll see if they ultimately end up getting, I think they should get approved, and I think they'll probably end up coming through. But yeah, that's essentially where we are with it. That's why I wanted to make this video. Hopefully it helps you. Maybe there's a little tips and tricks in there of the psychology and those pieces, and trying to really bring it back and just purely think about the numbers. And I guess in theory, I could have taken only, $500 across each of these and, pulled out like $2,500. But that additional like $250 worth of risk, give or take, that it was going to take away, I don't necessarily think is the end of these accounts for me. So I think that additional $1,000, right, $1,250 I could pull out is essentially like 5 more accounts, maybe 8 more accounts realistically, based on what I'm currently spending to acquire these accounts. So at the end of the day, I think those are the things that make sense. We'll continue to obviously trade these accounts, reduce the risk size down, and trade them accordingly. But I think that was the best move given the options on the board that I currently had with these. So Anyways, I hope that helps. If you guys have any questions, comments, all those things, leave them down below for me. And appreciate the love and support on the previous video. That one actually did really, really well. So hopefully this one can do the same. And with that, I will see you guys on the next video. Peace.